I got home earlier than usual that day, not because I planned to, but because the client meeting I had scheduled was abruptly cancelled. Maybe if it had gone as planned, I would not have walked into my own home and had my entire world ripped out from under me. Maybe I would have stayed blind just a little longer. But fate in all its twisted humor decided otherwise. The house was quiet when I stepped inside. Too quiet. No TV murmuring in the background. No clatter of dishes in the kitchen. Just silence, thick and pressing. I set my briefcase down, loosened my tie, and was halfway through calling out Emily's name when I noticed something off. Her car was in the driveway. She was home. But where? Then I heard it. A muffled voice. A man's voice came from upstairs. From our bedroom. For a second, I did not move. My mind scrambled for some kind of rational explanation. But there was none. Every logical thought evaporated, leaving behind something raw and instinctual. My body moved before my brain could catch up. I took the stairs 2 at a time. My pulse a war drum in my ears. I threw the door open so hard it slammed against the wall. And there they were. Emily, my wife, my partner of 30 years, was tangled up with a man I had never seen before. He was not scrambling to cover himself, was not rushing to make an escape. He just stared at me with the calm indifference of someone who had already won. And Emily, she did not look guilty. She did not even look surprised. She looked annoyed. I expected panic. I expected begging excuses, apologies. Instead, she sighed, like I had interrupted something as mundane as a phone call. She sat up, stretched lazily, and looked at me with the kind of boredom one reserves for a tedious chore. "You home early," she said. Something inside me snapped. "Who the hell is this?" The man smirked. Did not even have the decency to look ashamed. "I'm James," he said casually. Like we were at a dinner party being introduced. Emily ran a hand through her hair. Completely unfazed. "Well," she said, swinging her legs over the edge of the bed. "Since we're all here now, I guess this is as good a time as any. I'm leaving." The words hit like a sledgehammer to my ribs. "What?" She stood up, stretching as if this was the most natural conversation in the world. "I'm leaving," she repeated, "to be with James." There was no hesitation in her voice. No remorse. Just cold, detached finality. James watched the scene unfold with lazy amusement. His arms crossed like he had all the time in the world. I turned to Emily, searching for something. Anything to explain what was happening. "You seriously telling me this now? After 30 years. This is how you do it?" She shrugged. "I mean, you were bound to find out sooner or later." My hands clenched at my sides. "How long?" Emily tilted her head, pretending to think about it. As if it was not my life she was casually dismantling. "About a year?" James chuckled. "A little over a year," he corrected. Like he was helping her with math homework. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not just anger, something deeper, heavier. "A year," I repeated, my voice hollow. "You've been lying to me for a year." Emily sighed again, rolling her eyes. "Oh, do not be so dramatic. It's not like you were the best husband in the world." I blinked. "Excuse me?" She waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, come on. You work all the time. You never notice when I do something different. You're always so predictable. And let's be honest. You've been kind of boring for a while now." James, the homewrecker, nodded in agreement. "She deserves excitement, man." I turned on him so fast his smirk faltered for just a second. "You do not get to talk," I said, voice sharp enough to cut steel. Emily groaned like I was embarrassing her. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. So uptight." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay in control. "You could have just left," I said finally. "You did not have to do this. You did not have to make a fool out of me." She scoffed. "Oh, please. If I had just left, you would have begged me to stay. Promised to change. Drag this out for months. This way it's clean. Over. There's nothing you can do about it. There it was. The final blow delivered with the cruel confidence of someone who had already erased me from her life. I should have yelled. I should have thrown something, demanded answers broken down. But something inside me clicked into place. A realization, cold and sharp. She thought she had won. She thought she was walking away with everything, leaving me in the dust, broken and pathetic. She had no idea what was coming. I exhaled slowly, meeting her gaze with something she had not expected. Come. All right, I said, if that's how you want it. She blinked, caught off guard by my lack of reaction. That's it. I nodded. That's it. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. I turned on my heel and walked out of the room, leaving them standing there, expecting a fight that never came. Because I was not going to give them the satisfaction. And because this was not over, not by a long shot, that I did not sleep that night. I sat in the living room, staring at the walls, replaying everything over and over. 30 years of marriage reduced to a joke. A year of lies right under my nose. And the worst part, the way she looked at me, like I was an afterthought, like I was nothing. By morning, the shock had burned away, leaving something sharper behind, something colder. Emily thought she had all the power, that she could just walk out and leave me with the wreckage. She did not realize that I was not going to let her destroy me. When she finally came downstairs, she was dressed casually, sipping coffee like it was just another day, like she had not just detonated our entire marriage. I'll be moving my stuff out this weekend, she said, not even looking at me. I leaned back in my chair, watching her. Where are you staying until then? With James, she said, shrugging. Obviously, I nodded. I see. She finally looked up, frowning. What's with you? What do you mean? You read being too calm. She narrowed her eyes. I expected a meltdown, maybe some begging. But this, she gestured at me, annoyed. This is weird. I smiled. And that really threw her off. Do not worry, Emily, I said, I've just accepted reality. Her frown deepened, right? She shook her head like she was trying to figure out if I was playing a game. Then, as if bored already, she finished her coffee and stood up. Well, I'm leaving now. Do not try to contact me. I watched her pick up her purse, grab her keys, and walk toward the door like she was heading to brunch. And then she was gone. I waited, gave it a solid 5 minutes before I pulled out my phone and started making calls. First, I called a lawyer. Then I called a better lawyer. Emily thought she was going to waltz off into her new life without consequences. What she forgot was that I handled everything. Our house, our accounts, our assets. She did not have a single financial detail in her name that she actually understood. But I did. She thought she was leaving me in the dust. She had no idea she was the one about to be left with nothing. I spent the next few hours making sure of that. First, I locked down our joint accounts, moving everything into a separate account under my name only. The lawyer confirmed it was perfectly legal since my paycheck had been the sole income going in for years. Next, I went through the house. Every luxury she had taken for granted, her designer clothes, her expensive jewelry, the car I bought her. None of it was hers. She had no money of her own. Then I called her parents. They had always liked me more than they liked her, if we were being honest. They knew how much I had done for her, how much I had put up with. When I explained the situation, her affair, her lies, the absolute mockery she made of our marriage, let us just say they were not thrilled. And Emily had been expecting to lean on them for support. Not anymore. By the time Emily texted me that evening, I was already 6 steps ahead. Emily. Hey, I need you to send me some money for a few things. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I replied, Me, you mean the money from our joint account? You'll have to ask James for that. The typing bubbles appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Emily, what do you mean me? I moved everything. The account is empty now. The phone rang almost immediately. I let it go to voicemail. Then came another text. Emily, you see, not do that. Me, I already did. Silence. For a long, long time. Then Emily, I need my stuff. Me, I'll have it packed and delivered to your new place. Wherever that is. Another pause. Then the next message came. And it was so predictable, I almost laughed. Emily, can we talk? Now it was my turn to leave her on read. Emily thought she was making a clean break, that she could just walk away. No consequences, no repercussions. She just made one mistake. She thought I was weak. Emily did not like being ignored. She had always been the type to get her way through charm, manipulation, or sheer force of will. But this time she had no leverage, no control. And she hated that. The text started pouring in. First, the fake concern. Emily, I think we should at least have a conversation. It does not have to be like this. Then the gaslighting. Emily, you reacting crazy. This is childish. Then the blame shifting. Emily, if you had been a better husband, none of this would have happened. That one almost made me laugh. Almost. I let her spiral. Let her go through the motions of a woman desperately realizing she had miscalculated everything. And then when I finally responded, I kept it simple. Me, my lawyer will be in touch. No emotions. No arguments. Nothing for her to latch onto. The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. The next day I took things a step further. Emily was under the impression that she was going to be the one to leave me. That she would ride off into the sunset with James while I was left behind picking up the pieces. But Emily did not understand something critical. This was my house. She had assumed she had time, that she could move her things at her leisure, waltz in and out as if she still had a claim to anything. So I changed the locks. Not a single thing of hers remained inside. I had it all packed, every item she owned, every reminder of her presence, into cheap storage boxes. I did not even bother being careful with her things. If something broke, not my problem. And then I hired movers, not the fancy ones either. The type who worked fast and did not ask questions. Within hours, everything Emily owned was packed up and gone. She was officially out. And she did not even know it yet. That evening, she showed up at the house, fully expecting to walk in like nothing had changed. I was sitting on the porch when she pulled up. Emily stepped out of her car, already irritated. Why did not you answer my texts? I took a sip of my coffee, not bothering to stand. Did not feel like it. Her jaw tightened. All right, enough of this. I need to get some of my things. I gestured to the driveway. There they are. She followed my gaze and froze on the sidewalk, neatly stacked, where all her belongings, box after box, labeled with her name, waiting for her like a set of discarded memories. Her expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. What the hell is this? I set my coffee down and met her eyes. I had your things packed for you, saves you the trouble. Her mouth opened, then closed. Then she let out a sharp, humorless laugh. You read being ridiculous. I leaned back in my chair. Am I? She took a step closer. This is still my house. I tilted my head. Actually, it is not. She faltered. What? I pulled out a folder from beside me, flipping it open with deliberate slowness. You never read the paperwork when we refinanced. Did you? She blinked. What are you talking about? I tapped the page with my finger. My name is the only name on the house. You signed your rights away years ago. Her face drained of color. No, that's not legal. I finished for her. It is, and you signed it yourself. I leaned forward. So Emily, I'd love for you to tell me how this is still your house. For the first time, she looked scared, not angry, not smug, scared. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. James, she had counted on James, counted on him to provide, to make this transition easy. But Emily had never needed to know about finances before, because I had always taken care of it. She had walked out assuming she'd be fine. And now reality was slapping her in the face. I let the silence stretch, let her feel it, let her sit in it. Then I stood up, brushed past her, and stepped inside. And before closing the door in her face, I said the words she had thrown at me just days before. There's nothing you can do about it. Emily lost it. The moment the door clicked shut, she pounded on it, her voice rising into a sharp, furious pitch. Are you kidding me? Open the damn door. I did not. I just stood there on the other side, listening as she went through every stage of grief in record time. First, denial. This is not legal. You see, not just throw me out of my own house. Then anger. You are such a pathetic little man. You think this makes you powerful? You think you've won? You're a joke. You always were. Then bargaining. Let us just talk about this. Okay, this does not have to get messy. And finally, the one I had been waiting for, desperation. Where am I supposed to go? That one almost made me open the door. Almost. Instead, I leaned against the wall, crossed my arms and said, loud enough for her to hear, you should probably ask James. Silence. I let it stretch for a few painful, satisfying seconds. Then finally, I heard the sound of her footsteps storming away. A car door slammed, an engine roared to life. And just like that, Emily was gone. For real this time, I knew she would not go far. Not at first. She needed to process what had just happened. And Emily, she was not built for losing. She had spent her entire life being the one in control, the one who dictated how things would go. So I waited. I did not have to wait long. Less than an hour later, my phone rang. Not Emily, James. I stared at the screen for a second, then answered, keeping my voice casual. James, to what do I owe the pleasure? You think you're clever, do not you? His voice was tight, controlled, forced. He was pissed. I smiled. Oh, I do not think, James. I know. A sharp exhale on the other end. Emily just showed up at my place. Your place. I let out a low whistle. That's a surprise. I figured she'd be heading to a hotel. James did not bite. She's sitting on my couch right now, crying, saying you screwed her over. She's not wrong. I admitted. Silence. Then a reluctant, almost disgusted chuckle. Jesus Christ, I actually underestimated you. Yeah. I said, leaning back in my chair. So did she pause. Then what do you want? There it was. The real reason for the call. James was realizing very quickly that Emily was not the prize he thought she was. When she had been sneaking around with him, it had been exciting, taboo, a stolen affair built on adrenaline and secrecy. Now she was his problem, and he was not ready for that. So I decided to have a little fun. I do not want anything, James. Emily made her choice. Did not she? She does not have any money, he said flatly. I grinned. No, she does not. And she has a lot of expectations. I laughed at that. Oh, buddy, you're just now figuring that out. A long, frustrated sigh. Then how the hell did you put up with her for 30 years? I actually had to bite back a full-blown laugh. I think you're about to find out. I heard him mutter something under his breath. Something that sounded suspiciously like I'm so screwed. Then before he could try to pull me into whatever mess he had just inherited, I ended the call. Let him deal with her. Let him struggle. This was only the beginning. James lasted 3 days. 3. I expected a week, maybe 2. But I clearly overestimated his patience. Because on the 3rd day, my phone lit up with a number I did not recognize. It was a hotel. Hello, sir? The receptionist said politely, we have an Emily Reynolds here who requested we call you. She is unable to pay for her room and said you might be able to assist. I nearly choked on my coffee. Emily in a hotel, that meant James had already kicked her out. I had so many questions, but first I had to save her this moment. I took a slow breath, keeping my voice calm. I see. Can you put her on the line? A few seconds later, I heard her voice. Mark, just my name. No fake sweetness, no forced charm. Just pure, seething rage barely held together by desperation. Emily, I said smoothly, nice hotel. She huffed, cut the crap. Just send me the money. I grinned. Oh, sweetheart. I do not think so. she snapped. Do not play games with me, Mark. You put me in this situation. I laughed. I put you in this situation. No, no, Emily, you did this. You left. You wanted James. And now what? He changed his mind. Silence. I leaned back, stretching my legs. Come on, Em. Tell me, how did it fall apart so fast? Her breathing was shaky, furious, embarrassed. And then, because she could not help herself, she cracked. He's a cheap, selfish idiot. She spat. The moment he realized I did not have any money, he started making comments about pulling my weight and not freeloading. And when I told him I needed time to figure things out, he had the nerve to say I should go back to my husband. If I wanted a free ride, I grinned so wide my face hurt. Oh man. I said, that's rough. Mark, she said, voice tight. I need money. No, you need a job. Pause. A sharp inhale. Then rage. You absolute bastard. You think this is funny? Oh, hilarious. I could feel her fury through the phone. You really just going to let me suffer? I let that hang in the air for a moment before answering. Calmly, slowly. So she really feel it? Emily, I said, there's nothing I can do about it. Silence. Then the dial tone. I do not know what she did after that. I did not care. All I knew was this. Emily had spent 30 years treating me like a backup plan, like a man who would always be there no matter what she did. She had expected me to wait for her, to clean up the mess she made, to be her safety net. And for the first time in her life, she realized she was on her own. Emily did not reach out again, not directly. But that did not mean she was done. I should have known she would not just disappear. That was not her style. She was not built for struggling, for facing consequences, for dealing with real life without someone to carry her through it. And if I was not going to be that person, she'd find someone who would, which is how I ended up sitting in my lawyer's office 3 days later, going over our divorce proceedings. When my phone buzzed with a text from a number I barely recognized, her sister, Lisa. Hey Mark, can we talk? That was new. Lisa and I had never been particularly close. She had always tolerated me. Nothing more. And I knew this was not just her reaching out of the kindness of her heart. I sighed, leaned back in my chair, and typed back me about the reply came fast. Lisa, Emily, she's staying with me. I almost laughed. Of course she was me. How's that working out for you? This time the pause was longer. Lisa, not great. Me, let me guess. She's complaining about how unfair this all is. How I ruined her life. Lisa, pretty much me. And now you retexting because you want me to feel bad, take her back. Lisa, no, I just think she's finally realizing she made a mistake. I stared at the message for a second. Then I shook my head and started typing me no Lisa, she realized she lost Lisa. That's not true. She's still I cut her off. Do not you know what kind of person she is? You've known longer than I have. Another pause. Then finally the honesty I had been waiting for. Lisa. Yeah, I do. I let out a slow breath. Then stood up, stretching. We done here? I asked my lawyer, who had been patiently waiting. She smiled. We redone. Papers will be filed by the end of the week. Good. As I walked out of the office, my phone buzzed one last time. Lisa, just so you know, she's still trying to figure out a way back. I smirked me. Tell her not to bother. Emily was not built to be ignored. She thrived on control, manipulation, and attention. And when she lost it, when she realized that her usual tactics were not working on me, she did the only thing she had left. She showed up. I was in my driveway, enjoying a beer after a long day, when a car pulled up to the curb, not some sleek luxury vehicle, not a rental. It was Lisa's car. The door swung open. And there she was. Emily, hair disheveled, clothes wrinkled. And for the first time in her life, she looked lost, not angry, not smug, not even furious at me for shutting her out. Just lost. I took a slow sip of my beer, not bothering to stand. You should not be here. She crossed her arms. We need to talk. No, Emily, I said, leaning back. We do not. A flash of frustration. Good. That was familiar territory for her. Can you stop being difficult for 5 minutes? I raised an eyebrow. You sure you want to talk about who has been difficult? She exhaled sharply, then stepped closer. I made a mistake. I said nothing. She took another step. I should have handled things differently. I laughed. You think her jaw clenched, but she forced herself to stay calm. Look. I got caught up in something that was not real. I thought, she swallowed. I thought James was what I wanted. I tilted my head and her lips pressed together. And he was not. I nodded, pretending to think it over. So let me get this straight. You threw away 30 years, lied to me, made a mockery of our marriage. And only now, after James turned out to be a loser, after you burned through every other option, you want to have this conversation. She winced, actually winced. I know I hurt you. Hurt me. I set my beard down. Emily, you did not just hurt me. You destroyed everything we built. You thought you could walk away without consequences. I gestured around. How is that working out for you? Her face darkened. You re-enjoying this? I shrugged. I'm enjoying watching you realize you're not special. That one landed hard. She flinched, then masked it with anger. I was happy with you, Mark. No, you were comfortable with me. I stood up, stepping closer. And then you got greedy. You thought the grass was greener. You thought you were above consequences. She held my gaze. And what if I said I wanted to fix things? I laughed. Then I'd say you were out of your damn mind. A flicker of something crossed her face. Shock? Embarrassment? Because she had never expected that answer. For 30 years she had lived under the belief that I would always be there. That no matter what, I'd always want her back. She was wrong. And for the first time, she knew it. Her mouth opened, then closed. And when she finally spoke, it was soft, defeated. You really do not love me anymore? I took a breath, looked her in the eye, and told her the truth. I stopped loving you the moment you laughed in my face. She inhaled sharply, blinking fast like she was trying to keep herself together. But I was not done. You did not just cheat, Emily. You mocked me. You stood in our home with that smug little smile and told me there was nothing I could do about it. I stepped closer, voice lower, sharper. And now, when everything has fallen apart, when you have nothing left, you expect me to take you back? Silence. She knew. She finally knew. Her eyes darted away. And when she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. I do not have anywhere else to go. I did not smile. Did not gloat. I just looked at her, at the wreckage of the woman who once thought she was untouchable, and said the only thing that mattered. That's not my problem. Then I turned, walked inside, and shut the door on her for the last time. Emily did not knock. She did not call out my name. Did not beg me to open the door. She just stood there for a long time. I could feel her hesitation through the wood. The weight of reality finally sinking in. And then for the first time in her life, she walked away with nothing. No dramatic exit. No last word victory. Just the slow, humiliating realization that she had burned every bridge. And there was no one left waiting on the other side. I watched from the window as she climbed back into Lisa's car. I expected her to slam the door, maybe scream, maybe cry, but she just sat there gripping the wheel, staring at nothing. Then she drove off. And that was it. 30 years gone in the span of a few weeks. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Emily did not contest anything. Not because she was feeling generous, but because she had nothing to contest with. She had no job, no assets, no leverage. And James was long gone. Oh, that was the best part. James had not just dumped her. He had torched whatever fantasy she had left. Apparently, he had never planned for this to be permanent. He thought he was getting the fun version of Emily, The secret thrilling affair without all the responsibilities of a real relationship. When he realized she actually needed him, that she was expecting him to provide for her, he bailed. I heard about it through Lisa, not because she wanted to gossip, but because Emily was still living on her couch. And Lisa, she was done. She's impossible. She vented over the phone one day. She does not help with anything. She just complains. She acts like the world owes her something. I smirked. Sounds about right. Lisa hesitated. I do not think she has ever had to struggle before. She has not. I said simply, and that was the real issue, was not it? Emily had never faced consequences before. She had always been the one in control, the one who dictated how things went. She had always had someone. Me, her family, her friends who picked up the pieces whenever she screwed up. But not this time. This time she had nothing. And I had everything. A year later, I turned 52. And I was thriving. New car, new home, new friends, a life that was not weighed down by someone who saw me as a backup plan. For the first time in decades, I was actually living. And Emily, well, last I heard, she was working part-time at a department store, still hopping between different people as couches. Apparently, Lisa finally kicked her out after she refused to help pay rent. Then she tried staying with a friend. But that did not last long either. People had finally caught on. Emily was not someone you helped. She was someone you survived. And me, I was so much better without her.